Computer. So hello, ladies. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'm so excited to get to talk with you. So we have Jordan and her mom, Jackie, joining us today. So Jordan, you want to tell us a little bit about your hearing loss and how you came to get cochlear implants?
Well, I was born completely deaf. It was at a very, young stage, so I don't remember a lot of things. I know that I wasn't really sick. My mom was never really sick for my hearing to be tampered with or anything. We never got any results from it. We accepted it. We had to do what we had to do in order for me to be hearing or possibly, into the deaf world if that was the case. Luckily, they did some research and stuff. They found cochlear implants, took a jump at that, and that's what I have. I do remember just a little bit of like the surgery going on, being in the hospital for the surgery for the cochlear implants, and just having to go to doctor's appointments, speech therapist, whatever it was to actually, be functioning with my speech, communication, and learning to hear out of these. Yes, I've had them all my life, so that is all I know from my hearing and not just being fully deaf.
Yeah. Excellent. So it was such a young age. So you were implanted around the age of 2, is that right?
Yes, and
Yeah,
then I
and
think
that
the
was,
next one was about 3, but I know they do them at very young stage now.
yeah. Yes, at that point in time, that was the earliest that it could have been done, but they have
Yes,
learned over the years that, the sooner that the implantation can be done, the sooner that the information can be
yes,
fed to the auditory nerve, the
yes,
sooner and the faster that that children like you can acquire speech and language. So do you
yes.
have any memory of the activation day?
I don't. The only memories I have is just being in the hospital after surgery, in a little gown and having to carry the little IVs and everything. That's about it. That's it. That's the
Yeah.
only like vivid memory I have of being in the hospital or getting the cochlear implants.
Okay. So yeah, at 2 years of age, that's not surprising. And so, this is just part of who you are.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about so I think something that people don't fully understand, number one, when anybody gets a cochlear implant, and certainly if it's before you've learned how to speak,
Mhm.
it's a lot of work. It's a
It
lot
is.
of work
It
to
is.
learn not only how to hear with this device, because it's a little bit different. It's not
Mhm.
like, I think people sometimes just have this vision of, oh, we put a pair of glasses on and we can speak and we can hear, and it's not like that. So
No.
tell us a little bit about how that process was for you. Like, were you going to like speech therapy? I would imagine quite regularly. What was that process like?
Yes. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 times a week, if not more, for speech therapists. How to, communicate what things are, learn to speak, just learn everything over again as a hearing, just because even those 2 years of my deaf life, that's something different. We had to, they had to improvise as far as like trying to get my attention or how to get me to eat, so we would do eat like this or drink, you need to drink, restroom, I know was a little
But
R.
those were very few. Any symbols, those were the very few only she knew. We never taught her any sign language or anything because we actually started going to the speech here in Dallas with Linda Daniels. So we started going to see her before she got implanted. So she started learning to feel vibrations and to learn to use her voice just a little bit before she got implanted. So we didn't want to teach her any symbols or any way to sign because we wanted her to use her, her voice. So she'd never learned anything besides the eat or the drink or the restroom. So those were like the necessities.
Awesome. So, wow, that took me back. The name of, so Linda Daniels, you were in good hands from the get-go. She's a legend.
Yes.
She's a legend. That's so awesome. So tell us a little bit about like going through school. What was that like?
Well, luckily, where we lived, you know, in Texas, Midlothian, of course. We had been blessed with a very good school district. So we never really had to worry about me being bullied or falling behind in school or anything like that. You know, some people are going to go through that because not everybody understands devices on somebody's ear or what they're for or anything like that. So I got blessed with a very good school district as far as their understanding and wanting to help and being involved and trying to, you know, help me be a better person to advance whatever it is I want to do in my life.
Awesome.
There are some hard times, you know, I don't do very well with testing at all. It may just be me because of my hearing and comprehension on some things, like big words. Those freak me out. I am not for big words at all. Small words are my best friend, and that is it. I did have a lot of help as far as school. I had this lady called Miss Carla. She was like a speech helper, not just for the deaf people, but just for the speech and as far as getting around in school. So we did do a lot of project and hands-on things and a lot of vocal things. She really, really did help me a lot. I had advanced so much. They said, you do not need no more speech help. There's nothing else we can do for you.
Wow. Wow.
So I was very proud of me and proud of my mom for all of the help and accomplishments that we had done, because it would not have been easy without that. And it does, like you said, it does take a lot of hard work and actually wanting the results in the end.
Yeah.
And that is my
Awesome.
biggest fear, is losing all of that hard work and results, because I would be going deaf if something were to happen.
That's okay. It's okay. It's an emotional, it's an emotional topic. Because you have worked so hard. You know,
Yes.
one of the things, you know, your mom and I have been chatting a lot over the last few days, and there you go. Now I'm gonna go. I'm kind of,
That's a good thing.
I'm getting angry, to be honest. I'm getting angry because, and here's why. And I know that sounds a weird thing to say, but here's why I'm getting angry. Everybody, you know, almost everyone has seen the activation videos. They've seen the babies, the toddlers reacting to mom and or dad's voice or the audiologist's voice. They see this miracle of the cochlear implant and they think, oh my gosh, this child is now, their life is changed. And it is. Their life is changed. They're set for life. And, you know, you did all the right things. You know, you're blessed to have parents that got you to the right places. You had the good resources, you had the good school district from what you've shared. And so we think, right, the child is, you know, they're set for life.
Right.
And what's happened, and just this little 1 year that since I've started the Joyful Life Cochlear Implant Fund, what we found alarmingly that I would have not have expected is the early 20-year-olds not getting what they need. And in my mind, I shared this with someone earlier today. In my mind, it's like, you know, we see these videos and we're like, great, they're set up for life. They're, you know, part of the hearing world forever. And now it's like, we're coming off this conveyor belt. When you hit 20, 21, you know, services change and whatnot. And you're falling off what you need. And so it's, I'm quite angry about that. And I think that's why it's so important that we're having this discussion, and that so people understand, you know, what is going on. So tell me what's been happening with your sound processors or with your hearing. So the external components, because again, a lot of times people don't understand there are the two components of a cochlear implant. You have the surgery, which is hopefully once in a lifetime, but the external sound processors are something that need ongoing repair, replacement, upgrades, and people don't seem to understand that part of it. So tell us what's been happening with your sound processors.
Well, with my sound processors, they do get expensive to maintain. Sometimes we can't afford it. We have no insurance. It really just does come down to America as a whole. They don't see it. They don't understand.
Even if I do choose to get insurance, the deductibles are extremely outrageous. And then there's always going to be the copay. So even if I chose to get a big chunk of my check and get insurance, I still would never be able to afford the deductible and all the copays just for the ears, just let alone for the ears. I mean,
Yeah.
cochlear implants, we call them ears. So that's just like a huge thing that people don't understand. It's always going to have to be maintained.
It's like how people get new phones. Like, oh, new phone came out. Okay, well, let me get another one. You're upgrading it. I need the same for my ears for them to work 100% efficiently. If they're not working right, then that lacks my hearing. It deteriorates my hearing. I know I don't have hearing as a normal person, but this is my hearing. This is what I'm used to in my life.
But it'd be also like, again, if you were in a wheelchair. Okay, one wheelchair won't last forever. It might, wheels will need to be worn, they get worn out, they need to be replaced. The handles can get to where they won't lock, so you will never be secure. So there's things that people don't understand, that it's just not a one thing surgery and they turn it on.
Right.
This piece that is connected, if it's not connected, then there's zero hearing.
Mhm.
There's no buzzing, there's no sounds, there's no beeping, there's no
Mhm.
humming, there's no whispering, there's nothing.
Yeah. And I
And
think
that's
that's
just
what,
one thing. You also got to think about the doctor's appointments, all of that. That still does require some money. That's just more money that we have to come up with somehow to even keep these maintained and working properly.
yeah, 100%. And I think that too is, about I liken it to cell phone technology, because smartphone technology, because we're always, we're having to repair, replace, upgrade our
Yes.
smartphone technology. I think that's something that most people can kind of go, oh, because they really don't understand that when the magnet is not the magnet of the internal, it's not touching the magnet of the internal, we are 100% deaf.
Yes.
And we're reminded
and
of that on a daily basis,
Right.
because most of us, I don't know about you, I do not sleep with my sound processors
I
on.
do not either.
So I wake up, I am stone cold deaf, I go
right.
to bed, I'm stone cold deaf. When I have to change my batteries throughout the day, I'm stone cold deaf. So we have this constant reminder. I'd gotten LASIK surgery like 25 years ago. I've never barely ever given another thought to like what it was like to wear contacts and glasses. And now I have readers, but up until now, I never really thought about that. But it's so different with the cochlear implants, because every single day we are reminded of what it would be like. And it's really difficult, I think, for people to understand. We're sort of straddling in two worlds, but
Mhm.
If people could understand that this is actually a very tiny computer, and that computers are always going to need to be upgraded and maintained, or they just won't work.
right.
So this is actually the computer that processes the sound into the cochlea of the ear. So if that, like, there's no computer on our glasses, right? So these have very little maintenance, right? If they break, you just go get another pair or whatever, or just like the LASIK surgery. So that's how it's so different, is that this is actually a tiny computer that's going to process the sound to her cochlea, to the neurons, and allows her to hear. So that being said, computers are only good for 3 to 4 or 5 years because of technology always changing in such a rapid way.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. So I know, we had talked a little bit, but tell me about how you've been denied services and what the reason was.
Oh my.
Where do we start on that one?
This has been, I think she was about 14 when she first started to be denied.
12.
It was years ago, which was ridiculous because there's batteries that have to be purchased. There's cords that break or they get flimsy. So once they're flimsy or they have a short in them, then the hearing is distorted. There's always appointments that need to be made, not like, once you get them set and everything, maybe just a yearly appointment to check them and to make sure that they're doing good.
I
But
don't even do a yearly appointment. The
Well-
last time they've been maintained was probably when I got them.
yes, because we don't have any insurance and those appointments are $400 and $500. So the state of Texas has decided that since she's able to hear now, and it's a year after surgery, they're considered no longer disabled for whatever reason. So they don't realize that she sleeps in the total deafness. So if it was to catch a fire, if there was to be a flood, if someone was to break in, what if she's taking a bath and the place catches on fire? What if, I mean, there's all these what ifs, because really and truly is going to be a chore for her to live alone. She'll need to have some services like the deaf people get, because if they are asleep or they can't hear the fire alarm, they need to be alerted as well. So she is in the same situation, and that's never going to change. A hearing aid won't help her. Once they have the surgery, there is no hearing whatsoever. People don't understand that either. So the state of Texas has just decided that a year after you've been able to hear and you can understand some percentage of speech, I forgot what the percentage is that they decided was accurate enough, then she's no longer a disabled person.
Yeah, that is absolutely mind-blowing. It's
And now
absolutely
that she's
mind-blowing.
older and she started to work, they base it on that. They said if she's able to make money, then she's not disabled.
But I have to make money to live.
Right.
But I mean,
right. And so
people that are
it's
deaf can pick up trash. People that have problems in their mind, they can pick up trash. People can work. That does not mean that they're not disabled or that they don't need any assistance. And we didn't even ask them for the money part. We just needed her to have the insurance because these are outrageous.
yeah, and I think that's such a interesting thing as well, because it is such a catch-22.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't hear, there's that really limits you to what jobs that you could have. And, you know, in most cases, those are not as well-paying jobs. And so it really does. It's really, so if you can't hear, you can't work. If you can't work, you can't, you know, it makes no sense that they would consider that, that you're not disabled. It's just like
And then in the
a
same
person.
note, if there's no insurance and these can't be maintained, then tomorrow she may have to start living life as a deaf person. So then what? So then will she be considered disabled? I mean, who knows? I don't know what they would rule. But if she can't maintain these, then she's going to eventually be a deaf person again. So they don't understand, I don't understand how they think, I guess, or how the laws have been set up, or who decides that stuff, or if they even have a doctor that decides that. Do they even know about implants? I don't know. It's super frustrating.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I mean, probably the answer to your questions is no.
Yeah,
They
to
have
all of
people
them. No,
making
no,
these
no.
laws that have no idea what the real situation is.
Yeah.
So tell me what it's like to be, because I know that you have at the moment no processor, no hearing on the one ear because no processor, and you have the other processor that's as I refer to it, intermittent. So it sometimes works, it sometimes, and so for those watching this video, imagine you're listening to the radio and the sound comes in and the sound comes out and the sound comes in and the sound comes out, and you don't have any control over that. So you can imagine how frustrating that is. So tell us what that's been like, to have this intermittent sound as you're trying to live your daily life, as you're trying to work. Share a little bit about that.
It does cause problems, because if it's cutting in and out like that, that's the period of what I don't hear from the people. That could be important information that could be hurting me, especially with the job. I do food industry, so that is a lot of communicating with the people and hearing what, my bosses have to say or whatever the case is. I'm a manager, so I do have to boss people around. I need to be able to talk with them. They need to be able to talk with me because not everybody in this world knows sign language. For me, do not know sign language. I would love to learn it, but we have not crossed that bridge because I've always had my cochlear implants working, functioning properly and everything. So for it to be cutting in and out and worrying if it's going to break down on me that day or if it's going to cause some problems, that it puts me on the edge of my seat a little bit.
Besides the fact that you're only hearing out of one side of her head now.
Now that I only have one cochlear implant on this side, everything goes to this ear. I don't know who's talking, what direction it's coming from, or anything like that, especially in a very, very, very loud place. It does cause some problems. I have to say "huh" 20 times. I have to speak a little louder because I don't know if y'all can hear me or, whatever the case may be. It frightens me a little bit. It does scare me because I don't know what to expect once I do become fully deaf again and not just in both of the worlds and partial ways, because I'm so used to just being able to throw my ears on and have a conversation or go run to the grocery store, whatever it is that I need to do to be successful in a person.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly in the industry that you're in, that is, I can only imagine how frustrating it is because, like you said, you're only getting the hearing from one side. We don't have the ability when we have just one processor on to have directionality to, and it makes it much harder just to understand, particularly in a noisy environment.
Yes.
So that means you're having to put more effort. I'm sure you're absolutely exhausted at the end of the day from the extra effort that it's taking to try to hear with, one partial ear in a way and trying to, navigate in a work environment. So I know that can't be easy. What would you say your biggest fear is right now?
My biggest fear is going completely deaf. Just because I've always been hearing. Sure, I don't, wear my ears all the completely time to go to sleep or to shower or swim and stuff like that. I've never really had to learn sign language. Nobody in my family really had to learn sign language just because I did get my cochlear implants at a very, very young age. So it will take a lot of learning from everybody to learn sign language, or use the good old fashioned pen and paper to have conversations and communicate and stuff like that. I probably would lose my job. I don't mean it, in a harsh way. For my job, I communicate a lot. I have to use my voice a lot and my ears a lot. So for me not to be able to hear or interact, that will cause some problems. It's not something that I want to have to risk going down if that can be avoided, just because I'm almost 21. That's 19 years of hearing. So hearing and then going to just deaf all the time, it's a big change. It's different. You have to reroute your life. You have to change the ways that you do things in your life. You've got to have a little more support. I am an independent person for the most part. I've grown up to be that way, and I have no problems with that. But if my ears get ripped away, then that leaves me to be relying on everybody for the rest of my life. My mom is not going to be here forever. She cannot be here, hold my hand, tell me it's going to be okay or nothing like that. So this, like you said, all the early 20s, this young adult, it's scary because you're worried about what's going to happen next month, what's going to happen in 2 years. You don't know. You're not in a comfortable, safe or secure spot with all of this, and especially with no help from anybody else. It's frustrating. I don't even know, it just gets under my skin of worrying about that.
Yeah, absolutely. There should be in your early 20s, there should be that like the most carefree time of your
Right.
life and setting the foundation and,
Yes.
just a very different chapter, not
Yeah.
having to worry about, am I even going to be able to remain in the hearing
Mhm.
world, which is the only thing I've ever known.
Yes.
And like you, I don't know sign language. I have had many times when I've shared my hearing loss journey with
Mhm.
people who have said, "Oh, why didn't you just learn sign language?" Oh, why didn't I think of that? And I mean, I mean, no offense to people but
Yes.
now I'm so over people saying that to me. I'm just like, how many people do you know that know sign language? And
Yeah,
then
and
they
even
go,
if you do know it,
and I'm like, exactly. Like, I don't know. I grew up in a town in South Dakota of 1,200 people. Who in the world could I have signed with? And so,
Yeah.
and I think they don't mean any like, they don't mean it, but they're just like, oh, that's the magic
Yeah.
solution. And I'm just like, are you kidding? And so now I'm a little more harsh about that because I'm just like, how many people do you know that know sign language? And then of course they don't know any, or they might know one or two. And I'm like, exactly. So would you want to be limited to being able to communicate only with, and again, nothing against sign language like you. I think, I am open to all tools in the toolbox and all of that.
course. Yeah.
But this is the life that you've had. We organize our lives around being part of the hearing world.
Yes.
And a simple coil goes out, a simple cable goes out, and we're done. We're
Yep.
like, that's it.
Yep.
So I think that's something that people don't fully appreciate and understand.
Mhm.
So this has been such good information. So one last question for you. So what would it mean for you at this point and having, I'm sure, a lot of fear and anxiety around losing your hearing at this point? What would it
Mhm.
mean to you to have 2 stable ears once again? What would that look like for you?
To have stable hearing is the question. Okay.
In both
Correct.
ears.
to be able to get your ears back and have them upgraded and have just perfect ears again. How would that make you feel? How would that be?
I would be relieved. I would be happy, but I do think that would be just a temporary relief because I still have 50, 60 more years of my life to keep them maintained, keep them working properly, keep having to make sure that nothing's going to happen to my ears. And
So it's always a small wonder back in the back of her mind.
yes,
Am
yeah,
I going to be able to keep these upgraded? When is that finally going to come where I don't have any hearing? So it's just like always a wonder. She would be so grateful to get them now and to be able to maintain them. But going through this is just put like a smidgen of fear that's just sitting on the back shelf, in the back of her mind.
mhm,
That one day, whenever someone doesn't understand, or when someone did the wrong paperwork, or when they didn't care to research and find out about what I need, that's the day I'm gonna have to live my life there.
mhm.
Because she'd rather not ever have to face that. But
Mhm.
it's just a thing that she's just always gonna have in the back of her mind.
It's already going to be a problem with this ear getting a replacement or an upgrade or whatever it is to have another ear for this side because it's already been a week without hearing out of this ear. Now, some people are like, oh, that's nothing. It causes effects. It does
Yeah.
deteriorate it, even though I am deaf and not deaf.
They have no understanding about how the regression and how that if the brain is not used and accustomed to it every single day, that it's going to just degrade, digress,
Yeah.
go backwards.
Absolutely. So I agree. That's something that people don't understand. So the auditory nerve is like any other muscle. And when it does not get exercised, when it does not get used even like a week, it's just like when we see, people having to like relearn to walk again and things like that. It really is that sort of similar thing, because the longer that the auditory nerve and that pathway, that neural pathway isn't stimulated, it's
Mhm.
going to degrade. And so
Yeah.
to then bring hearing back to that is, you know, it will be having to do probably, some more speech or some listening therapy and things like that to get it back to the level
Yes.
that it was. And so it really is a serious thing. And I agree. I think people, don't have any idea that, it's that serious to go even for a short term without
Yeah.
having that auditory stimulation. So,
Mhm.
all right. Any last comments that either of you would like to add?
No,
Not that I think of.
we're just grateful for whatever it is that y'all can do, and however we can help y'all get the word out or to help in any kind of way, because
It's
there's-
very hard to find help in anything
There's-
as far as the cochlear implants.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy that we're even getting some help or trying to, or,
there's just some people, there's so many people that just don't understand unless they have it affected their life or
Mhm.
it's been in their life, hearing loss or any kind of hearing aids or cochlears, then they just really don't understand. And I don't know if you know, but I don't. There's a small percentage of people that have any information or any experience with the cochlear implants.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say, I started the Joyful Life Cochlear Implant Fund 1 year ago. We just had our 1 year anniversary in
Aw.
October. And I've been out of the US for 11 years. But when the pandemic hit, I was just like, I knew already that, people were already struggling with the copays, with keeping the equipment functioning, with intermittent sound. And so when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be even. But I did, due diligence, and I was investigating, and I thought, well, surely there have to be, nonprofits that are helping with the aftercare, if you will, like
Mhm.
post-surgery. And I was absolutely stunned to find out there are not. And
No.
so we are the only organization in the entire US that I know
Oh,
of that were, getting new equipment, for people to be able to, keep going and keep their hearing functioning,
Yeah.
so that they can,
Mhm.
continue to have the lives that they've built their lives around in this hearing world.
Yes.
And it's still shocking to me to say that.
That's shocking. That's unbelievable.
So, well, I appreciate your time very much. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.